had a few requests to explain how I built these hydro rigs, and well, let's give it a go. So the build is effectively divided up into thirds. So once you design the first third, you essentially just need to duplicate that going around. Once I've built the central building, what I did was duplicate it on the left hand side and on the right hand side, and I'll have a follow-up video explaining exactly how to copy and paste big structures, and those are called mega prints. So we'll get into that in the next video, but I'm going to show you how to build one of these. So don't think of this as three massive structures. Just to simplify things for yourself, just think of it as one structure divided up into three different segments. So if we take this one here, for instance, if you can design the one side of it, nothing stops you from making the rest of it. So as you can see here, this side as well as this side as well as the back side is exactly the same. There's no difference between any one of these sides. The only real difference between the three buildings is the logistics floor. Aside from the logistics floor, they are exactly the same. So let's start with the basics. The first thing you need is the foundation, and the foundation as well as the entire building is based off a single triangle, and we need to start there. So let's do that. What you want to do is you want to get the triangle going first. So this is going to be an equal angled triangle, and all triangles, inner angles always adds up to 180. So that's easy now, seeing that we need to make this angle that goes there to there. It doesn't want to click there, but that angle needs to be 60, that angle needs to be 60, and then the one on top also needs to be 60. So if you look at this foundation here, obviously that's going to be 45 and that's going to be 90. So if you rotate it 2 clicks, it's going to be 90. So if we can actually break that down a little bit, so let's see, if I hold control and I scroll now, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. So we've got 18 on a 90 degrees, so that's going to give us, so it's 5 degree increments that it turns. So if we want to get an angle of 60 degrees, just to illustrate this, divided by that gives us 12 ticks. And just to make it easier, so actually I'll show you this first. So 12 ticks, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. So there we go. Now we've got a 60 degree angle because we turned it 12 times at 5 degrees, so 5 times 12, there you go. But there's a slightly easier way to do it. Since we know that it turns 18 degrees to go 90, all you need to do is in fact to just go 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So that will also give you the angle that you need. So if you have pressed H to lock it in, if you look at this angle there, there's your 60 degrees there. So instead of turning it all the way, you can just turn it the other way essentially. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get it level with this foundation, and then all you need to do is to move it up to the edge, and if I hold control I can get it right up there, and there we go, 60 degree angle. So now we need to do this again, but obviously we just need to go the other way. So 1 2 3, no, that's wrong. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Oh, what to say? There we go. Alright, and we're gonna get this level again, and we're just gonna move this bad boy into position, hold control, get in there, and there we go. That's the basis for the entire hydro rig. So we're gonna base everything off these angles right here. So the first thing we need to do is just to bring it out a little bit, so we've got something to work with. Now, this is the first problem we've got here is, if you look at where it faces, it actually needs to be the other way around, because I basically want this part here, which is going to be like the little observation deck, is going to be coming out like here. That's going to be on this position here, but that's facing the wrong way, so we need to face it this way. So essentially this circle just needs to turn, oh sorry, this triangle just needs to turn. So let's try this again, and all I'm going to do is just move this one up. Doesn't really matter how far, because we are going to be working off wherever we place it. So let's just back this off a little bit. So I'm going to do that again, just show you guys. So 1 2 3, oh fuck, 1 2 3 4 5 6, lock it in, and then move it around. So obviously you don't want the 30-degree angle, so there's your 30-degree angle. You want the 60. There we go. So actually we'll might as well extend this one, might as well do that one, and then let's get the other 30 or 60 degrees. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, lock it in, bring it down. Alright, there we go. So now we've got the face of the building going that way, which is exactly what we want, so perfect. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we need to figure out exactly what we're going to do. So we know that we need the logistics floor to get all the belts in, so we need at least one floor that will receive the goods and enough room to maneuver and to build stuff in it. So if I extend this out, actually I'm going to leave this center bit open just so it's clear where the center is for the building. If you want, you can even do this just to mark it off so there's no confusion. Alright, so first thing we want to do is we want to get a wall up here. I found that if you do 2 walls up, so 8 meters, that's more than enough space to get whatever you need, like logistic wise, in here. So the first thing you want to do once you've got your basic setup, so we know that we're going to be operating from this wall up. So this is basically going to be the wall where all of the packages will be sitting, which is going to effectively be our first production floor. So we need to figure out how many packages we need. So we are producing 4,320 fuel per minute, and we need to break this down into 3 different hydro rigs. So that's going to be 1,440 per hydro rig that we're supposed to do. So we need to, so we take a packager, there we go, a packager, and we say we need to unpackage fuel. And we need to do, so this wing on this side is going to do, let's break it down a little bit better for you guys. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Okay, there we go. So that will fix itself in a minute. Okay, so we also need to take this and divide it by 3 because we've got 3 segments of this one building. So we need to be able to unpackage 480 per wing. So in other words, if we expand this wing, alright, so we need to be able to take per wing 40, what was that, 44? Double check those calculations. 480. So that's actually going to fit perfectly onto a 480 belt. So 480 fuel per, whoops, that's wrong. Fuel per, let's call it a wing. Okay, perfect. So if we take this bad boy, we can see that this does 60, pumps out 60 fuel and pumps out 60 canisters. So nice and easy, divided by 6 gives us 80. Actually, no, that's 60, so it gives us 8. So if this is the center of our one wing, we need to do 4 on this side, 4 on this side. So if we grab this guy, if we know how big or how wide the one floor has to be, at least at a minimum, obviously we need to put on fuel generators, so we might have to increase it a bit more. But for now, our first method of planning is just going to be let's see how big the required machines will actually be on the floor. So let's bring these out because the floors are obviously going to start overlapping and we don't really want that. So if we take this out 4, you can see we can be running into issues. So we need to actually, hold on, let's just move it up to there. So on the 3rd row is where the packages are. So 1, 2, 3. We put out 4 on the side. There we go. We can see there's actually enough space for all of the machines to be placed up here. So let's just quickly, just to visualize it a bit easier, we'll put 4 down here. Alright, so obviously we're going to need another segment in front just so that we can work off something, as in where the pipes are going to be, where the conveyor belts are coming in, all that kind of stuff. We'll do the same on this side. So we know, okay, so this is how big the bottom floor needs to be at a minimum at least. And we want to see if we are okay with the amount of overlap, if there is any. Alright, so you can see it overlaps there a little bit. So if you've got feeding from the bottom, we've got the conveyor belt coming up, and we've got fuel and more conveyor belts going down for the canisters. We've got a fuel coming out, that's going to go up, and then the canisters are going to go down and back again. So you can kind of decide now, okay, so is this segment here big enough? Do I have enough room here? Like what do I want to have? Like for me, for instance, I like to have walkable areas. So is there a walkable area? And then basically for me, this seems fine. This seems all good. We'll clear that because we know that we're in the green when it comes to space. Alright, so if we go up and grab a wall here again, if you go 3 up, you can probably get away with 3, although you might have those little indicator lights clipping in there. But just to make it a bit more spacious, just to make it look better, not cramped, we're going to go 1 up and just give it enough of a room above to actually have some clearance, and just so it doesn't look too cramped. Alright, so we know, okay, so that's the height that we want at least to have clearance on. So let's we're gonna have the first of the fuel generators on this floor. So let's just give them some room to work with. And obviously we now also need to figure out how many fuel generators do we actually need, because we can't package them now, which is obviously good. Then we need to figure out, okay, so how many fuel generators do I need? How much do I want to overclock them and then reduce the amount of machines needed? And that will determine exactly how many we need to place down here, and then also how much space we need. So let's see, 1 fuel generator. So we know, okay, so this one's going to take up about 2.5 slots. If we squish them together, we can get. So if you look, I'm looking at kind of like the half section here. So we'll probably need to go out a little bit more and have like this middle section open for walkways. So this is all kind of the stuff I'll do initially, just to see a lot of experimentations to see exactly how this is going to look, where it's going to go. Okay, but let's first see how many fuel generators we actually need. So we're looking at 480 fuel per wing. So everything's going to be done in thirds basically. So we're going to build this one wing almost entirely. That will be the template for all the other wings, and then obviously I'll show you guys how to duplicate these builds once they're actually done. So you don't build like 3 buildings entirely. It's just going to take way too much time, especially if you want to do detail. I'd rather spend the time I would have spent building 3 or 2 additional copies of the buildings. I'd much rather spend time making this one build look good and then just duplicating that using this Satisfactory calculator. But before we get there, so let's just confirm and see how much fuel are we using. So I believe it's 20. Yeah, there we go. So 20 fuel is the burn rate, and we've got 480 to work with. So 480 divided by 20 is going to give us 24. Okay, but we do want to split this up onto like out on a triangle base, like just flaring out from the bottom according to our reference image. So 24, let's just actually place them down and see what they look like from the size point of view. So we also need to keep in mind where the fuel lines are going to be. So generally like a 4 meter gap, it's going to be enough for fuel lines. Again, I'm not going to worry about which way. It's supposed to go this way around, but I'm not too fussed about the orientation. I just want to see what the footprint looks like size-wise. Alright, so as you can see with this one, these are kind of like placed more or less where they should be. And we'll have the fuel line coming in the middle. We'll have a catwalk going over that, so we need to worry about walking space on that floor there. If we look at the side profile now, you can see the sloped incline bit of the one triangle bit is going to go up like this. So At some point we're going to have to reference our images again, our reference images, just to see if that angle is kind of like what more or less in the ballpark of what we want to do, just to get the final image going. So we've got 4 at the bottom and we've got 8 on top, so it's 12, so it gives us, we need to do 24. So 4, so we've got 20 left, 8, which means we need to do 12 on top. And 12 on top is basically just going to be one more row. So this kind of like works out pretty nice. We don't even have to do any overclocking, underclocking, any of that sort. We're going to have a center pipe going through here, which means that if we bring the pipe up all the way from here, we've got a nice clean, like straight shot all the way through the floors, bringing the pipes up. So this guy, strictly speaking, will need to go the other way around, and then we'll have the pipe going through here, and then we can have the next few kind of like back to back, and then we'll have to run a pipe either coming up this side or going around. So we'll probably do something like this, and we need to give it a bit of a gap to get the pipes in there. So there, we're looking at a 4 meter gap and another 4 meter gap. Right, so let's just fill this out so we can visualize exactly how this is going to look. So now we've got, now you can see it's already starting to take shape. So we've got 4 at the bottom. We've got 8 over here, so that's going to be 4, 8, it's going to be 12, and then we've got 12 on top, 24, and then boom, there we go. So now we know we need this amount of minimum space to fit all the machines in there. Alright, so we've got all our machines in here, now we can focus on the framework. Okay, so this one's going to need one more row, otherwise we're going to get, actually we might get away doing half a row here. Yeah, so let's kill this. I'm going to go to half a foundation, put that down there. So we can build right up to that line, I'm not too concerned. Like we'll just obviously build, like that's our closest point we can get. So when we do a build, we're not going to go into these machines. Like I don't mind a little bit of clipping here and there, but we want to keep that to a minimum. As long as the clipping is semi-realistic, then that's fine. And obviously the other big rule is it's going to need to be aesthetically pleasing at least. Magic beam again, we're going to switch over to freeform. What I want to do is I want to get it right there on the edge, so right there, and where I'm looking is also going to matter, because you don't want it there, you don't want it on that corner there, you want it in the middle right there. So we're going to be working on the edge in the middle of that platform. So let's grab that one, and I want to go all the way up to here, and you want, because the beam is obviously not going to reach, but what you're going to do is you do want to aim at the exact same point, and then I'm going to bring the beam down and we'll see how it matches up, and that actually works out pretty good. It's quite a steep angle, but I think if we push this one out a bit, we can get that angle to be less and not as aggressive. So let's do half a meter out, half a foundation rather, so that's going to be about 4 meters. So that angle looks decent, I think, which means we can also scoot these machines up a little bit more. So just squish them in there. So we'll have all the machines are basically going to be right up against that, effectively an exterior wall. So squish them up there, that one's going to be there, that one's going to be there. Okay, perfect. Alright, so we pretty much, you can see the shape is kind of coming out now. Alright, so let's just get let's start a frame, and we can kind of like take it from there. So I'm going to use the concrete pillars. So I'm going to aim anywhere on this pillar, we'll put it right on the edge, but because we don't want the pillars to clip in here, we can actually work right off the edge. So we're going to scoot that all the way down, right up to there. Put that one down, and we're just going to go all the way up. So this is going to be effectively essentially our outer frame for the entire build. That's going to go up a bit more. And to get that iconic white look that I wanted to go for, I've got a preset here, but let me show you guys how I make this. So if you just do normal white, so we've got white here, there, that's white. That just looks like that doesn't do anything. So if we go to custom swatches, so if you want to do normal white in here, you can just let's set these back. There we go. All right, so whatever color doesn't matter. So we're gonna go white and white. So there we go. This should be good, isn't it? It should be fine. So now let's paint it. Nah, it's like a hint of white maybe. So what we need to do is we need to drag these numbers up a bit. So you can't push it up more, but you can type in here. So we're gonna put it at 100. Probably do other numbers, but just makes life easier. Shiny 100, 100. So it's gonna give us the same code, but it's actually gonna jack up the numbers quite a bit. So now we've actually got true white. You can't do this for all colors, you can only do it for like the base colors. I think that's going to be probably your RGBs, red, green and blue, and your whites and your blacks. So you can go full on black. But yeah, we're going to stick with the white because that's it's going to be the theme for this entire build, this entire area in fact. So if you look at this is going to be the center bit. So we can probably bring it in one more. Nothing I'm doing here is going to be final. This is all just essentially visualizing and making sure the proportions are correct, that the angles are good. We're obviously going to have to reference our reference image quite a bit, and then we'll work off there. That's basically going to be what we're going to be building off, this frame here, because everything fits in it. We just need to extend it to the sides. But if we look here, you can see this obviously doesn't look too great. And what we did was we have to get a line going across here. Let's see, so the closest we can get, so that's a 45 degree right there in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just, you know what, I'm just going to eyeball this bitch. And if I look at my reference image and I compare this bit to that, I think that's pretty decent for now. Alright, so that kind of works. So now we've got this entire frame section here. Next thing we want to do is we want to just extend this and get an idea of the depth of this and if you look at this one, it's basically right on the edge. So we can go to this edge here and we need to go across and back, and that will match that side there. Perfect. You know, like this, put it there, measure out. But the easiest when it comes to these kind of pillars is just go to the edge. In fact, let's see if we can get this edge nice, so we know what the very end point will be. So I'm probably going to stick with the way it is now because this kind of works. So I'm going to put this one down a little bit. I just want to see what it looks like if I can try and get these edges as close as possible, and see if that's going to be good enough. So okay, let's take this away and bring this one up. Yeah, so the best way to do this is when you have two clean edges like this, grab the beam on freeform, put it right on that edge, make sure it's on that edge, go up to this one, and you can go with freeform, you can go right up on that edge. And we're going to place a pillar there, and we can get it like this, go halfway in, same story at the bottom, page up, get it right there, and then let it meet in the middle bit, because we can work with the edges then. So now, instead of trying to make that one work, we just slightly altered it, and now we've got a perfect angle. And we know that it's going to stop right there, so we can grab this end, go out on that side, and we might as well do this angle while we're here, and bring that out. So now we've got a nice little joint here. As you can see, that's pretty neat, especially if you're going to be stepping back, it's going to look really neat. That one is perfect. While we're here, we might as well grab these ones. Let's just bring this out. I just want to make sure, because we're, like I said, because we're doing a template on this side, we need to make sure that they do kind of at least match up. So if we bring this one down, yep, that's right on the edge, perfect. So we know that we are on the right path. That could work. You might even actually no. Let's do this. We're gonna. Oh, that's quite convenient. So I'm gonna do the beam thing again because they're so damn close. You can actually make them look really nice. Actually, I need to do it from the bottom. You do it from the point that you attach because that's your. There we go. You can see there's a slight difference here between the two. Right, so we got a nice corner here. We can maybe go like 2 out, and then from here we can decide what angle we want to go up. So we'll have like a little bit of a flat bit at the bottom, and we can have a nice steep angle, maybe going up to there, perhaps. Yeah, that should look interesting. So then grab that bottom bit there, and it's just not going to make it, but we'll make sure you aim at the middle there, because you don't want to mess this up. In fact, I need to have this corner, so I do need to go from that point to there. That's all good, so place it on there. Move it over, push it down. There we go, perfect joint. You can do the same at the bottom. Okay, we're getting there, we're getting there. The flat bit doesn't do it for me. So I think what we'll do is, we'll do the same idea, but I'm going to do 90 up. I'm going to change this angle. So I want a bit of a sharper edge. A bit more of a sharper angle on the edge, and then we just need to bring this over to that side so we can link up everything and complete the frame. And once we've got the frame in position, it's going to take a minute to fill it out, and once it's filled out, we just basically need to decorate it. But for now, we're just trying to get the idea of it going. And there we go. So that was probably the hardest part to do, is to get this right. Obviously, because I've done this before, I just kind of like loaded up an old save to show you guys how I got to the point where I got this frame out. So once the frame is in, you just need to fill it out, and then start populating your interior with all your machines that you need, and start doing the pipe work. But I'm going to showcase you guys a little bit of that, so let's hit up a little montage. Alright, so we're back at my original save. So this is my original one that I was working on, and this is essentially a third of the outer structure build of the one building, and I've hooked up everything just to do like kind of like a test run, a dress rehearsal if you like, just to make sure that everything is actually working as intended. And we'll start from one point. I'll show you guys what I did. So this is the bus coming in. All this is basically just it's got 4 belts at the bottom that brings in all the fuel, and it's got 4 belts on the top that takes all the canisters back. Simple as that. And it goes into processing way over there. Anyways, if we come and have a look here, we can see I replaced all of the packages with this blueprint, and you can this blueprint will be made available. These small ones is always for free on my Discord and my Patreon, as well as these ones will also be for free. You can just go and grab them if you like. Now, as you can see, I've hooked up everything. So let's actually, you know what? Let's start at the bottom here. So we've got the belts coming in. So at the bottom, you can see all the fuels coming in, and those 4 belts is then pushed into these 2 segments here. So half of them is going this way and half of them is going that way, which is obviously why they're standing still. Nothing's happening on that side. These guys will feed these 4 here, as well as those 4 will feed this wing that's going to be over here. And then we've got these 4, or rather 8 packages. These 8 will feed all of these, and that's the 480 that's going to be coming in and being unpackaged and then pushed up to the different fuel power generators. Right, so I'll have a quick look down here. Okay, so they're all coming in, they're being split off, they go onto a belt that just feeds all the way through, just a normal, just a standard manifold. As soon as the packages have been fed, the empty canisters will come out. They're going to go back, and we're going to put them straight back onto the bus, and off they go, and we're done with them. Alright, so once the fuel has been unpackaged, you can see these ones are jacked up a little bit, but this is just for the test. So these guys will pump out the fuel, and half of the fuel will go up on this side using the pump to ensure that I've got enough lift going all the way up. Actually, you know what, we can have a quick look here and see. So the head lift is currently, its max it can do is 50. We're doing about almost 48, so we're pretty much on the limit of it. And on the other side, I've got this one going up the center, but eventually I'll decide with the later iterations of this one, I actually move that off to the side and then have it go up the side similar to that one over there. Alright, so once it goes up here, I'm going to split it off, and I'm going to feed these 2 machines. The balance of the fluids, because of this pump, is being pushed up. Actually, we'll go to this side because this is what the final bolt will have. So all of that's going to go up there, and then we've got another pump to ensure we don't lose any kind of head lift. That goes up and it gets teed off on this side, splits into these 2 machines, or rather 4 machines. Then the balance of that's going to get pumped up as well, due to the late lift we still have from that pump at the back there. And these ones come up here, and as they push out here, we're going to split them off to those machines, these machines, and we're going to wrap the pipe around as we go off to the side, feed those 2 machines. And as you can see, these guys are just going nuts. That's pretty much it. So once you've got this third of this building built, and obviously you're going to have to hook up the power and the whatnot, but those are minor things. I mean, you guys know what to do there. But once you've got this third build, you essentially pretty much almost finished the entire build, at least from a conceptual point of view, because every wing is just going to be a copy of this one. So you can, whatever you did over here, and because we're seeing it's working, will be done over here, will be done over here. And that's pretty much it. That's why, even though it might not seem like it, this is a fairly straightforward and simple build. You just need to wrap your head around the concept of like, if this was all laid out flat on just like one plane, it would be considered an easy build. Now all you need to do is exactly that, and just stack them on top of each other and just make the shell or the outer side of the building, just make that look interesting. So I I know you guys know what I mean, but yes. So again, not that difficult to get this all done. The tricky part actually does come in when you want to decorate it, and to what extent. So I want to show you guys one more thing before we move on. This section here, you can see I've built this out. Now this surprisingly was a little tricky to do, is to get these to line up properly. So what I did was, if I remove some of these, so you'll see this is the original section that we built. In fact, I'm going to remove a whole bunch of these. There we go. So this is the original frame that came all the way around, and it goes all the way down. And just to make it a bit interesting, just to get this kind of like corner, so instead of having like a sharp corner like this, like that little section there, I want to just soften it up a little bit, and we have to make it fairly big so that if you're off in a distance, you can still kind of like see the softer edge on it. And all you need to do to get this, like that angle, is if you grab this pillar, you just want to basically do a copy of it. And what I do is, I'm going to push this out, not all the way. With experimentation, I found that if you embed it a little bit, it actually works a little better. But again, that's just all experimentation. Once you've got this one out here, you can hold control and you can scroll this bad boy, and this will allow you to move the pillar around. So you just need to find an angle that works for you. Once you've got that one, you can delete the original one, and you can just kind of like hook it up. And then you need to see if you're happy with this, because once you've done that one, that's obviously going to need to be the same across this side, all of them. So you can see there's a slight difference, so it looks like there's a one tick difference. So let's see if we can fix that, just so we can match the other one. There we go. So you can see this one, it's like I said, this is where the tricky part comes in, just because it takes a lot of time to get that angle correct. But even this angle will work fine as long as you keep it uniform going around, or going across rather. So you'll see now this one, if you push this one out, you can see there is obviously a lot of overlap here, and if you want a nice neat corner, you don't want that overlap. So what we'll have to do is, let's see if we can get this right, because again, like I said, this is what took time, is to get it just right. I think this, and to be quite honest, I tried a couple of methods and I can't recall exactly which one worked best. But something I also was experimenting with is using a beam. The beam in the center, bring it out, and this will give you additional control to twist it, because it goes like different amount of ticks, so you've got a slight different angle to work with. So let's see. Oh, I think that's exactly what I did here. So we go down there. Yep, there we go. So with a little bit of experimentation, I found that using just the turning circle or radius on these wasn't sufficient. I had to chuck a beam in there, and then the beam, I can then work off the beam and have additional control over this segment here. We want to add like a line about probably one pillar width away, going all the way around. So easiest way it's going to be is just delete a row of pillars directly after your initial pillar. So we'll use the initial pillars, these ones, as a guideline. And I'm going to grab all of these. And what you want to do is make sure not to delete all of them, because you always want to work off one of them just to keep your life simple, or make your life a little bit easier rather. Is I'll then go in here and I'll have like, see there, like a one. So I'm holding control and nudging them half a meter out. So you can have a half a meter gap there. Bring it up to here. And then same on this one. I'm going to grab that one, bring it out a little bit, and if we're lucky we can get it really close, so that's perfectly fine. Bring that one up. So now we've got this little indent, or like this little groove on the side. So if we go to signs, we can lay this sign in there. Now you'll see this is another problem, is if you get there, see it doesn't There's like, it needs to be half that. Now, a way to get around that is you place it down. You go to the edge here, and you can see if you're on the edge, you've got a little bit more fine movement going there. So you want to push it up just to that edge there, lock that in with H, and I'm just going to nudge it in 1, just so it sits after that little corner bit there. And then if you want to turn this into a light, I usually grab like this setting where there's nothing to interfere, put it on 3, emission strength, you can do glossy matte, whatever. I've got a preset color here. Actually, I think I went with this kind of like teal look. Gonna copy that, paste it in there, and there we go. So change all the colors, put it on 3 emission, glossy, and there you go. You've got this little neon strip light thing. You go, and if you put another one in there. Now, if you want to get rid of this little line here, what you need to do is before you place it, you want to go nudge down 1 whilst holding control, and that gives you a nice clean one. Obviously, you're going to have an overlap, so you can use a lot more material to do this, which is obviously going to be more material cost, but it also might be a lot more items in the world if you want to do this every single time. But doing it every now and then for specific parts, perfectly fine. Alright, same story on this side, and go to the edge there, right there, press H, and then hold control to mini nudge it in. I'm going to delete this one. I'm actually going to put that one on top, and to avoid that little line, I'm going to do that again, and let's just do a couple of these so you guys can get the overall effect. And there we go. So we've got this really cool like line on the end, just to accentuate the edges a bit more. So I'm gonna just do a couple more here. I'll fast forward it so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay, I think we get the idea. So now obviously from here you just need to get creative and just keep using, come on power, there we go. And just do your lines whichever way you like to do. All right, let's move on. Alright, so once you've completed all the additions and you've added all the detail that you want, then you're pretty much set, and there you go. Alright, let me show you around. So on the outside, obviously you can see all the different lines I do. This is all creative choice, so whatever you think looks good at the time, just experiment and find your own style and decorate it with all these details as you see fit. On the outside, I went for a couple of windows here and there, added like these grids or slash vents, and everything just to basically give just to give it a bit more texture, as in variability in depth. Add a couple of lines in here. For instance, these beams I added in here. These beams are obviously all just stylistic, and playing around with that, you'll find just things that work and things that don't work. But the only way you can really get something cool out of it is if you just experiment a bit more. Right, so let me just show you guys let me just show you how it finally all fits together into one unit. So from the buzz, we've got the fuel canisters coming in. There you go. So the fuel canisters can, strictly speaking, just go straight in and into the packages, but just for a bit of a visual flair, I added this kind of like a conveyor waterfall or lift waterfall, where the fuel goes up and then just goes down and then back in. So let's quickly go there. Okay, so we're going to jump down all the way. So as you saw, the package fuel coming in is basically just going up and then going across and then coming down again. And that's all just for, it actually serves two purposes. The first one is a little bit of a style, just makes it look good. And the second one is you can actually monitor everything coming through here. Visually, you can just see if anything is running smooth as it should, or if there's any kind of hiccups. Either the fuel is being fed in, as in the lines are just stuck full, or the lines are completely empty. Anything like that will indicate that there's obviously an issue somewhere. So the fuel, like I said, there's the bus down there. The fuel can literally just come in here and go straight into the machine or into this balancer where I had to buy the fuel up. But again, like I say, just for style points, basically, I had to go up and down and then come out here. So you got 8 lines of fuel coming in here. Those 8 lines, then each 2 of them goes into a splitter that splits them into 3. So this is a balancer that will split those 2 lines equally into 3. So you've got another 2 lines going into another 3 balancer. You got another 2 to 3 balancer and another 2 to 3 balancer. And the reason for that is, if you've got 8 lines coming in but you need to divide it into 3 buildings, this can be a little tricky. But if you turn those 8 lines into 12 lines, splitting 12 lines into 3 different buildings is a hell of a lot easier than doing that with 8 lines. So that's why we've got the balancers in here. So the balancers then combine those 12 lines into 6 lines, which then have 2 lines going out to the one building. You've got 2 lines at the bottom here going to the central building, and you've got 2 lines going out to the other building. Obviously, when they come back, we've got the canisters just from those fuel cans that are now empty. It's going to come back from the various buildings and then just get fed back onto the bus. Simple as that. Right. Once the fuel is divided into the different buildings, they're going to go through here. So I'll show you at the back. Right, you can see there's just a couple more balancing things in here. So that's just a small splitter of the overflow going into the other one. So once the fuel lines, I'm actually going to switch on my lights. There we go. So once the fuel comes up here, it gets split into 2. So the half of it's going to go this way, and it's going to feed the packages on this side of the building. And the other 2 lines are going to go to the left hand side, and it's going to split the fuel into these packages up here. So if we go back up. So once we have the packages here, the packages will then unpack the fuel and then pump it into these fuel lines. And again, you can see here I connected the 2 separate parts just for balance sake, so any excess will either get pushed that way or that way, whatever the case might be. Then once the fuel is in these lines, we then use a pump to get it all the way up, and then it gets into these fuel generators, or these fuel power generators. The excess fuel is obviously pushed up again into these blocks of fuel generators or fuel power generators, and then from there the last bit of excess, which is the majority of it, gets pushed into the last bits in here. Now, to ensure that you've got a nice balanced system, what you need to do is actually go to each machine, switch it off, wait for it to fill up all the way. So you're going to have to go here, switch it off, and wait until it fills all the way to 50. You're going to have to do this for all the machines, and once they're all full, only then switch them on, and then you won't have any backflow issues. So that was the one problem I had, was backflow coming in from the machines sloshing the fuel back and forth. So turning off the machines and having them fill up first, they can then run 100% efficiently all the way. So again, everything here is split up into thirds, so whatever's on this side is all carbon copies of the other sides. So there's no real difference here. Then the last addition, because I had a bit of a gap here at the building here, so you can see there where the wall comes in, there would have been a big gap here, and we had to do something here. And I thought, well, in the previous power plant I had batteries in there just to act as a backup, and same story here. So now we've actually got a hell of a lot of battery power in my world at the moment. So I'll show you guys here. So if we go over, there we go, got 28,800 megawatts of backup energy, backup electricity. We're only consuming about 21,000 with a max consumption of just slightly more than our stored energy. So we've got plenty of power to play around with. So once everything's been hooked up and been fueled and confirmed that everything's working as it should, I just then kind of like filled, so to fill the void that was in the middle of this plant, I added this alien augmenter here, and obviously it's going to boost the power as well, which is obviously very welcome. And I just had it hooked up here at the bottom. There's a cable going through there, you can actually see it sticking out there, and that just hooks up into the main power grid of this entire building. Obviously the same for the other two as well. And then just add a little bit of decoration pieces in here, just make it look interesting. So like these supports here, autosave. So these supports is obviously just to make it look interesting. And then we've got these cables which are just at an angle, and it kind of like looks like stabilizers. And yet again, it's just something to make it look cool. Then at the back, I made sure to move this one forward enough to fit the elevator in here. I tried to do stairs going all the way up, but it just didn't look well, and it didn't look great, and took up way too much space. So I opted rather for just the elevator as opposed to the elevator and stairs, or only stairs. So the elevator just goes up here, and it's got to stop on each of the floors. And then originally I had my observation deck over here, and I was kind of like building it out, but it was just way too busy. So I decided to rather put the observation deck, like the office, way up here, and with the tilted glass, it actually gives you a very nice way of looking out over the factory. So you can stand over here, you can kind of like check it all out, which I thought was kind of cool. Then we've got this little computer bit here just to show some stats, and then again just some more stats just to make it look interesting. We've got the light controls over here, we've got the main power, and we've got these three different these aren't priority power switches. That one there definitely is, but these are just normal power switches. And the reason I have these, I'll show you quickly, is if I go here and I kill one of these, you can see it isolates the one wing. So what I mean by the one wing is it's 1/3 of the building. So that's going to be all these machines. And then the reason you want to isolate them is if there's an issue somewhere, you can immediately see if it's not doing 6,000, as you can see there, section max power output 6 gigawatts. So if it's not showing 6,000 or 6 gigawatts, then you know there's an issue here. So something is either not getting fuel, or maybe a machine is off, or anything like that. So the same story on these ones. If I go over here and I kill their power, you can see it all drops down to 6,000. So that's just a very, very quick way to see if everything's running smoothly, and just to do a little bit of fault finding. Okay. Alright, so so once I had everything in place, it was just a matter of going through the build, making sure I didn't miss anything. Again, I added this little walkway, so there's a little jet landing pad. So if you do want to fly in here with your jetpack, you do actually have a point where you can enter the building. Otherwise, you can just use the hyperloop here at the bottom to enter the building all the way from that side to this side. And then there's a hyperloop at the bottom of the logistics floor going that way, and there's another one from here going that way. All right. And that's pretty much it. The one last thing I want to show you is this section here. This is basically just a bunch of fans. So you see, these are just large fans. And the reason I have these in here is just to have some sort of believable method of getting the smoke out of this area. So all the excess exhaust fumes are supposed to go up with the fan into the roof. And the idea is then to, I can just go up here, is to have like an exhaust on top of the roof, which is also matches the reference images where they have exhaust in here. And these again are just large fans made to look like conduits of like smoke conduits or exhaust of some sort. I think it looks actually quite nice. And then obviously I just added a little detail, little glass floors there, a couple of indentations here, just to make the roof, instead of just being flat, it just makes it look a little bit more interesting. And that's pretty much it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this build guide. I'm looking forward to my next build, which is going to be my aluminium plant. And that should also be quite an interesting one. And I'll do a showcase video on that one again. And I'll probably do a build guide on that one as well. So just lastly, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters. Your continuous support allows me to spend the time to make these kind of builds. And these builds are also being made available on my Patreon. They are either going to be as a mega print, where you can either get just the one building, or you can get all of these buildings, and you can then paste them into your world if you prefer to do so. I'll have a follow-up video on exactly how to use Satisfactory Calculator to be able to paste these buildings into your building or into your world. So I'll have a detailed guide on exactly how to do that. But yeah, the blueprints for the fuel generators as well as the packages, that's been added to my Patreon and to my Discord. That's freely available, so you guys can just grab it there if you like. But otherwise, again, thank you for everybody for supporting me, and I'll see you on the next one.